Well, this is one of those situations where I don't know what to say. Pretty much the story of my life. Actually, I always know what to say, but I'm not too sure if I'm saying something. How do you say something about not saying anything? How do you convert breathing into speaking? How do you get to talk about everyday stuff when war and death are this time just behind the corner? I guess you just do. Communication is like breathing somehow. But from those parts of Europe where I come from, breathing isn't necessarily unavoidable. Okay. I think we've seen each other a while ago. It might have been before the pandemic at the Kaniepe Culture Centers, right? Probably. We had a beer together.
Yeah, and here was learning Italian.
Yes. Your partner was learning Italian. And when you see her, please say hello from me. And I remember you showed me an application. Maybe it was your girlfriend, where that kind of could age the person that you take a picture of a person that day. Remember, you showed me that application, or maybe she did that,
Yeah,
and then you can make your face look as if you were 50 years older. I remember it happened that night. I don't know if you do remember.
they actually have upgraded that app, and now it's even more realistic.
My goodness, I was realistic then. I really looked like
Yeah, but now it's like two times better. Two times better.
now it's even more realistic. Look, I let's start on a light note, and I thought I might have asked you already. Is there a coincidence between the fact that your name is Ernest and you look like young Hemingway at the same time?
I should check the young Hemingway photo. I know the young Stalin photo. When I went to my hairdresser, I said I want my haircut like young Stalin.
Well, I mean, there is something maybe about the hair that looks like young Stalin, but the face looks more like when Hemingway used to be a soldier in Italy. If you look back in that year, you can see there is something. There is a photo that you can Google later, and I think it's more of a compliment. I'm sure you're happier to be compared
Just
to.
put it. No, if you edit it, just put it like this.
But are you a fan of Hemingway?
Oh, not much actually. I actually don't read much of this type of literature, but of course I'm aware of his works, but it's not my
I
type of
mean,
thing.
he's such a big name that I actually got acquainted with him, and I started reading. I probably read one book only, and but it's one of those big names that you are acquainted with it, even if maybe you read something later in life. But I understand what you mean. What do you like to
Actually,
read?
I visited his the place where he lived in Paris. Some guy brought
Ah,
me there because he said, "Oh, Ernest, like Ernest Hemingway, you should check out this place." And where he like stayed and was sitting there was this small like plaza
mhm.
downstairs where he spent his time and so on. And you're not the only person who have said that to me,
Yeah,
basically.
man, it's not about your name, which sounds like the most predictable thing to say. It's not about Ernest. It's about the actual resemblance that you have with him. And if you look at young
Yeah, I will
Hemingway,
take it as a compliment. I will take
oh,
it
yeah,
as a compliment.
absolutely. Everybody knew he was a beautiful man and a boxer and a soldier, a writer, a whatever, a hunter. Then he shot himself. I think he just put a big double. You're not going to end up like him, I'm sure. But I'm sure
I
that's
still
pretty
can.
funny.
I still can.
You still can. Right. So, how do you feel? Tell me. I mean, we talked about we agreed on doing this podcast not too long ago, and we were supposed to record yesterday, which was the 9th of May, here in Latvia, a controversial day for clear reasons, a day when Soviet army uh, celebrates the victory over the Germans, but with all the rest of the um, all the consequences that arrived with the establishment of the Soviet regime in Latvia. And you said to me, Fabrizio, it's the 9th of May where we're going to do a podcast. So I presume we got already a hot topic. Today is the 10th. Does it mean we don't have to talk about it anymore? No. You still want to say
Yeah,
something?
actually, there's of course, my opinion. I have, I don't know, from different angles. I have thought it through, but the one that I would like to discuss with you is that there's a different sort of symbolic attachment or sort of romanticized vision about the Soviet times in the West, and like how your parents, like when you were a kid, basically, and there was like Soviet Union somewhere there in the eastern part of Europe. I feel that Westerners have this sort of romanticized feeling about it, and the more I have these sort of conversations, the more I understand that this is one-sided trauma, like really small one-sided trauma. And when we bring it up as it's like to its full importance, it feels like no one cares, you know. And basically, the amount that it's put in from our side, put in, and is kind of it makes it look ridiculous. So basically, what was your like? What do you have this sort of cultural or artistic um, sort of nostalgic idea about the Soviet Union?
No, but I can tell you, it's a matter of decades in Italy. During the 70s, particularly, we had a branch of terrorism which was called Red Brigades, and during the 70s, and they were trying to establish. The voice was around that they were trying to establish to make a coup, push, and to take away the Christian right wing government and settle their own. So there was definitely a interpretation of communism in Italy, at least that I can talk about, where the idea of socialism were embraced. They were definitely romanticizing the idea of communism in a way that it was totally myopic if you consider the real life in a USSR country. So you're totally right when you say that they fell in love with the idea of it. And I know some people in my family. There are some people that were nostalgic about Mussolini, the older days. There were people that were, the younger generation wasn't nostalgic about this USSR, which they didn't know, but it was something. It was a big party that it was the opposition at the time of a government that they didn't like. There are two ways to see it very quickly. There is a kind of romanticization of the topic in Italy of for example, everything that happened in Russia from Stalin onwards. People at the older generation kind of fell in love with it. There are some journalists, for example, that I remember they almost had the Stalin look. There are a couple of Italian journalists that you can see the mustache and the hat, whatever. So there is the topic has been romanticized. Um, but it's very interesting because none of these people, or at least most of them, never lived a single day in a country that used to be part of USSR. So there is the group of people. Then there is a big group in between that was communist or left wing as the opposition of the main government after the war, which is most of the people. And then there is a very big episode of left wing terrorism that reached the point where they actually kidnapped the prime minister and killed him.
Mm-hmm.
So there is, okay, going back to what you said, is there a distortion of reality in the West? I can talk about Italy. Yes, there is a utopic way of seeing what happened with communism in Russia. But also there is a politician in Italy called Berlinguer, which actually did what is called an historic compromise, and he took distance from Moscow in the 70s or the 80s. So he kind of founded some sort of moderate communism, okay, something like that. So, but regarding what you said, when you look at what happened in Latvia and you look the way that the West looks at it, there is a discrepancy which makes it look ridiculous, especially when you see how actually life was during the Soviet time in Latvia. So yes, I totally agree with you.
So, and basically, like I have these, I have like several stories that come from my sort of one particular was I was renting an apartment in Paris for my stud. Like I spent 1 year like studying in Paris, and then I was renting an apartment with this one Spanish guy, and uh, he had a like a phone, this phone signal that he uses when his friends call, and as well he used it as a alarm clock.
I see.
And it was the anthem of the Soviet Union. And so one morning, I wasn't living with him for a long time. It was just in between. They were like my roommate. He was living the most time there. That was like his friend who came like for a month when he was away. And basically, I'm like one morning, I feel like I need to talk with this guy. And so, I'm telling him that, like my great grandfather was killed in the KGB building. Basically, I told all about the deportations and everything, and what it means in the Baltics and so on. And his answer was that he was in this sort of youth communist organization.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that, yeah, but if we do it now, we will do it without killings. It will be way different. We don't have to kill people, basically,
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so on. And eventually, I understood that there's something else, and the something else was that basically they were making festivals. It's a cool organization. They're having all of those events, listening to reggae, ska, like jungle music, so on, smoking some joints, and then basically at the end, I thought I could convince him to wear like a Soviet Army jacket with a T-shirt of young Stalin on the on it.
Yeah.
Go with him to the monument in Uzvaras Park and like grill some shashlik with him, and he would think that it's exotic and cool thing to do. Imagine.
Absolutely.
That's like this
Yeah.
what I was asking you before. It's something that we share inside, but from the outside, it doesn't look like that. It's like you had this great, basically, you were part of this great empire, and now look at you. You're just some like the last country in the European Union, basically. And
I would like to tell you why, at least in Italy, I don't know about Spain, but I presume it's similar. So there are two reasons why in Italy communism is seen more in a tolerant way. Also because it represents the partisans that kind of that from the mountains came down and got rid of Mussolini. And if the real people that got rid of Mussolini at the end of the day were mostly the Americans, mostly. But anyway, we identify with that. The reason why we are late in understanding what it means, at least in Italy, to be in the Soviet Union or things like that is because in Italian video scuola, we were continuously told about Nazism only. So there is reason number one why Fabrizio had to wait to read maybe in his own free time, Solzhenitsyn, or like but out of my own curiosity. I'm not saying that nobody told us about that, but if you could see the word Gulag compared to the concentration camps, it was definitely 10-1. And so first of all, we were not told about that as we were supposed to, probably because history itself was flirting with the idea of communism too. So there are many historians that are left wing. My own professor was in that sense. So history was a bit monopolized in Italy in that sense. So if it was like that in Spain as well, it wouldn't justify. It would explain how out of the world this person was with the one that you met, and also he could have a point. If he believes in a type of communism there is not like the one that is represented with Stalin in Latvia, for example, or things like that. It doesn't need that anthem. It can make his own anthem. It doesn't need, it's like me saying that I like grunge music, but I want to make a new type of grunge music. And I listen to Nirvana only. I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there is enough freedom in this world to say that you want to imagine a new idea of communism without the gulag. Fair enough. I admire these people somehow because they believe in it. But the idea that you're listening to the anthem of the Russian anthem is a bit, is going to the worst that happened. It's not going to the best, I guess.
Basically, you try to take the the recognition and the power of the past and the idea how you can manage it today. And you're saying that you should make your own symbols, your own manifesto, and if you don't do it, then everyone will kind of make a resemblance there between the one like I did. But I don't judge. I have become more liberal about this issue than I was before. But at the same time, right now I'm maybe you saw on Instagram, I'm making those like little collage, like constructivist type pictures about the ways how we could destroy. But at the same time, I feel like this is our thing. Like no one cares, and it's so. I would like to do it just aesthetically, sort of beautifully. Destroyed monument, as it would maybe the artistic event itself would be so powerful that it would generate some attention, like the independence when we gained independence with the Baltic Way or with the barricades. I think these events are kind of artistic in a sense as well, and that's why people like them. It's not about gaining independence; it's the way how you do it, like also. Or how you destroy monuments, or how you approach all of these issues.
I agree, and I like what you said. I have some. It reminds me of my sometimes too rageful approach. Some problems of southern Italy when I was younger. I would get. I'm not comparing organized crime in south of Italy with the.
No, just go for it. Just go for it.
I'll not do it, but there is a similarity with that because when I was younger, I used to get angry very easily about it, about the people associating organized crime to the beauty and the glamorization of Hollywood or whatever. I used to get lit very easily. But growing up, I realized that one thing helps me, going back to the example of your acquaintance from Spain. Sometimes it helps me understanding that sometimes some people are ignorant, absolutely, but I want to understand their motivation in the sense if they don't talk to me with malice about things because they just allow me the term some maybe dumb sometimes that's what it is, or maybe they don't know the facts as I explained. I don't get upset, and I
don't know
as you would do. You didn't get upset. No, I know, I understand that, but it reminds me that probably even you, Ernest, when you were probably with the same generation. So when you were younger, you were easily you would get probably more angry, and now you're trying to understand, and you're trying to understand that actually all this passion that you have, if you put it in I saw it's quite nice. It reminds me a bit of I don't know. I was thinking about Clutis but in a way, not in a Soviet way. Yes, this Latvian artist that used to come up with constructivist. You put in all that passion, all that being upset into something that might be used properly in a way that probably the whole West, with a massive explosion being marketed properly and being done properly. But would we understand after that? Do you think that we would be ready to understand that? Because there is a whole kingdom of relativism on the other side. There are a lot of people that still nowadays take parts with Putin because they don't like United States. And so there is all this kind of relativistic way of looking at stuff. But I like your creative rage, that instead of just getting angry, you like to do something like that? I mean,
I think the creative rage is something that I enjoy myself very much. Like the most, this like I really like that you use this combination of words because when you come to this emotion of when you kind of you have read everything in the news, you have heard all the podcasts, everything, and you feel that there isn't an answer, it means that that's the moment when art comes in. That's when like good songs, like yesterday I was actually was listening Neil Young, this keep on rocking in the free
oh
world.
my goodness, I got goosebumps. I'm a big fan of Neil Young. When you
And
said it,
the song is actually about how Americans are like going the wrong, like they have this inside problem, of course. But I was listening it in the on the 9th of May, and I felt like this is such a powerful song to listen to on this day because we are the free world, and like Ukrainians are trying to join the free world, and this is like this moment in time which I appreciate so much. And as I'm saddened by the war, I'm really happy wouldn't be the best word, but I'm grateful that I could live through this time of seeing what it actually means to do something. And this is this artistic, or how do you call it, creative rage. This is when the best things happen, like the best projects, the best songs, everything best comes out at those moments.
there is also one thing that only art does, in my opinion, which is I don't know. I found this word recently, which is quite cool. I wish I knew how to say it in Latvian. Maybe it's similar. It's because to sublimate or sublimare or sublimate or whatever. There you
Same.
go. And the moment that you just take probably a feeling that is quite dramatic, whatever, and the moment that you make something, all of a sudden they say that you make you make something good out of it. But in theory, it's almost like it disappears. It becomes something totally different. So it doesn't bounce back to you. So when you do that, by the way, I saw it. It's quite cool. Your piece on Instagram that I saw. Um, so the concentration and the artistic value of it, all the time the inspiration from one of the most beautiful songs ever. It's not like something that keeps biting his tail, that feeling of rage or whatever that goes like that, but it becomes something else. And actually, you feel better afterwards. With anything, with writing, with anything that is creative in that sense. Everybody, they say that everyone has kind of honest feelings of what's right and what's wrong as a citizen, but also there is a bit of a politician in every person. So in the sense of actually going for compromise on one side, and on the other side, seeing just what is right. In this sense, what is right can be represented like in few words as maybe it's time for this monument not to be in Latvia anymore, from a citizen point of view, and from a politician point of view, there is a I don't know, like a different approach where compromise might be needed in order to preserve differences between ethnies in a country or between people in a country. Do you feel these two things are separated? Do you feel like, how do you feel about these two different approaches?
I don't like to discuss this sort of diplomacy side, which is now really popular, about how we can do it in legal terms. I understand how it's done in legal terms. That's not like write your papers down, do it good. Like if you will do it bad, that's a sad story. But I'm more interested in this. One thing is mentality. This multicultural environment where we are how do you say, there are not many cultures presented in Latvia, by the way. We are really strongly racist in our kind of. I feel that we have missed the idea that eventually we will live in a multicultural society, and it will come. Like this point will come. We are just lucky that somehow people don't want to come to Riga. Like there are really strong minorities everywhere. Nothing is like the same sort of world that it was, of course, with some technological benefits, some other possibilities, travel possibilities, whatever. We are still quite detached from the sort of reality of migration and so on. People are not like other older generation people who are now basically in power are not that aware of what's happening around them, or maybe they just don't want to see it. And in this case, I feel that I actually have spent a lot of my childhood with in the Russian-speaking environment. I speak Russian fluently myself, and I come from like half Russian, half Latvian family. Like my grandfather was Russian, and his mother was raising me when I was a kid. And I know that there is like a big difference about how you deal with emotions, how you deal uh, with rules. Even there is like this. You need to get your ass kicked. Like Russians love when they get their ass kicked. They don't understand this Western diplomacy. Like when Macron goes to see Putin, Putin sees him as a weak person. He doesn't see there a leader. On the other hand, Macron see Putin as this like self-proclaimed king, like Tsar of a place that no one actually like now no one cares. We don't care about you, you know. And so they both are right in a sense, but from this perspective, before that, I was more like Macron. I was more thinking about how to do it in a more like this sort of diplomatical ways. I'm trying to make him make his own mistakes, basically. That everyone sees that this is false what you're doing. But now I feel that it doesn't work with certain people, and these things as demolition and if it's done good, it gives such a lesson. One thing was also with the Latvian language in Russian schools. You can say what like people adapt easily to that, but there should be a strong, meaningful movement forward to achieve it. If we're always like taking this diplomatical compromising steps, sometimes it just doesn't work. And I didn't believe in this before. Now I believe in this.
It's almost like when you have to stand up to a bully, you have to show that you're not afraid. Kind of
yes, exactly that. Exactly that.
And one thing regarding languages, it feels interesting that at the same time, in the world that is different from the one that belongs to like even 30 years ago, 20 years ago, with the always deeper in the information era, let's not forget that there's a crazy amount of kids that are studying using English out there, which is somehow okay, way more than my country in Latvia, proportionally. Younger generation are speaking English better than Southern Italy, at least. And so there is this idea of so through the English somehow it feels that with a third foreign language there is no Russian in this situation, or there is no Russian, it feels almost like a better way to unite everyone somehow. With there is less controversial. There is the information through the internet travels with that. They, in my opinion, the great contribution of rap and music that arrived through the internet and everything. So it seems that the kids that are coming, the new millennials, or the younger kids, they're far away from these battles of victimism on one side and over diplomacy on the other side. The younger generation, that they are sons of the internet, they don't care about that, and they shouldn't care
No.
either. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't care. They should care about standing for what is right. No, I'm saying they should care about what's going on in Ukraine, but there's no need to have a family behind you telling you that they're victims, and another family behind you telling you that they're victims as well. You see what I'm saying? The situation in Latvia is different right now. I feel that English and the information era is making them more aware of actually a type of world that doesn't get together with Putin, because the biggest enemy for Putin is the internet, in my opinion. First of all, is one of the biggest enemies. So kids nowadays being able to access information from everywhere because they know English very well and everything, they automatically become enemies of this totalitarianism, automatically. Whereas if you go back to 30 years ago, or even when me and you, we were younger, we were inheriting information. We had the information from our family, from what we would see around the world, but we didn't have the internet. We didn't have when I talk about internet very quickly, I don't talk about listening to CNN. I talk about everything else that tells you about a country that is not yours.
Yeah, I see where you're going, and there's a big. I actually was this. You described those kids. Actually, I am one of those kids.
Yeah.
And the difference, like the 24th of February, changed everything for me, because I thought that I know it better, and then for me it came like an airstrike. I was like, no way, like same methods, same strategy, like everything's like in the even back then they used the same strategy that you, as they are saying till now, that we gave our first independence freely to them. Basically, we said that have no problem, like come here, army can freely come in and just occupy this territory. And this is actually what they wanted to happen, and it happened to us like 80 years ago. And everything is the same, and it feels like, whoa, maybe like every generation like it's living through the same scenario, and we don't have much options. We can just choose one, like left or right, like white or black. And I thought, okay, this is end of the great times. I should choose like black or white. And I'm not judging those who haven't made their decision yet, because I know it's not easy. Because I like to be neutral all the time. I enjoy this position because it gives you so much freedom. It gave me so much freedom before, but now it just gives you this. You like a. I can. What's it's like, what is your soul? What's inside your soul? Like if you can read if you could read like a Nazi newspaper in the 30s, and like read through the lines and still go, you're like, that's your soul telling you that there's bullshit there. Or people have lost their soul, they have lost their attachment to the inner self. And I think this is they call millennials the generation that will focus more on this sort of relationship between the brain, the mind, and everything that's inside with what we are doing. Mm-hmm. And it's like happening now with all the, I don't know, like global warming, like focusing on all these issues. It's not even about nature or earth. It's about us. Like I want to be like connected with my inside, and when I'm not, like I have all this depression and I have anxiety, and I want to I don't know, like people are killing themselves, and like that's I feel that it's complete like detachment, which has been because there wasn't a sure path, and this is something that gave me this path, for example.
Or simply because they say that the higher the quality of life grows, people start protesting for things that are not particularly important compared. So they start concentrating more and more towards themselves, and they lose the sensibility towards important. Supposed to be black and white situation like what's going on with what is going on right now. So relativism becomes like a pandemic almost. The higher the quality of life gets, maybe there is I'm sure that if I talk to a 1940s partisan in Italy, he's got probably a closer idea to what we're talking about right now, as in you have to take a stand, what you're saying, because pretty much it was a matter of life and death in that situation in the 1940s or even in the 70s afterwards with some terrorism and things like that, the motivation.
How you felt ever in your life this sort of you look on, it's like you're inside sort of a movement or process with like-minded people, and sometimes like you're at the right place, but the people around you feel that they don't, like they are for the same reasons, but no, they're for the same result, but for different reasons. And I feel that every time when people are born, they form these sort of new ideas and ideologies and so on, political parties. Uh, it's about the people who are doing that. Because, for example, politics, why I'm not really interested in politics, because I don't like the people in politics. If I would see that there are people like me in politics, I would be in politics 100%. I don't see that I can do any communication with them. They don't speak from what they think. Like there are so many. It's a long distance. It's even become.
No, I understand.
It has become a profession in a sense where you just try to reach your goals, trading to other goals at the end. I don't like. That's not the point. I'm just taking this example that this is the end. Like this is a strong statement, but I have discussed it with other people. I think it's the end of ideologies or political sort of these at all.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people who are liberal, but at the same time they don't support, I don't know, gay marriage, or there are people who are conservative, but they like come from, I don't know. Basically, there isn't any basis to continue this way, and we will eventually come back to the model where we present our sort of inner truths, which come from the inside, which come from our souls. And what's that? We haven't actually learned much.
Yeah.
We come to religion for that, but I don't think religion is that the case. It's something different that we should that's coming for us in the future.
Well, it's interesting. Yes. What could it be? What could it be? Because it probably can be religion again. But one thing, the way that I understand where you're coming from when you talk like that, is that what is the way to make what you're talking about actually effective in politics? Could be also going back to right wing, the way that you're talking about that. I'm not saying that you are talking like you want a right wing or government or things like that. And also right wing doesn't mean that it's bad. I mean, there are so many types of right wing or left wing or things like that. But the moment that you start representing people and you have a democracy, you're going to have these ridiculous minorities like we have in Italy, like the Liberal Party that doesn't tolerate, as you said, gay marriages. But at the same time, is okay. There are so many parties that nobody understands what was going on, and there is this utilitaristic way of seeing politics, almost like how long am I going to sit there and bring a wage at home or some sort of pension when society is not doing that great. But one thing I agree with you is the fact that there has to be some sort of strong signal or sensibilization, and I think art does it better than many other things.
It's something that is changing the world, and I believe in the best in the probably new sort of it's not like a new world order or that is based on globalization. It's something else. I believe they want to mix those things together. I think it's sort of mental freedom. There's a physical freedom, and then there's like the mental freedom. And I believe that Latvians haven't, most of us don't have the mental freedom to think, to act, and actually, in the intelligent society, people don't hate on other opinions. Like I have lived about two years in France. I really like the French approach. They can discuss everything at the dinner table, and no one gets upset.
I wish I could say the same about Italy. I wish I could say the same.
That's an important thing, because if my friend, like for example, I met some friends last weekend, and one of them got drunk, and he asked me, "But how? But how can you like justify or not justify? How can you explain like gay sex?" And I'm like, "Have you ever had sex just for pleasure?" And he's like, "No." I said, "Have you ever had sex with a girl just for pleasure?"
Said no.
That's the same thing. There are people who are having sex only for pleasure. But if he would be afraid to ask me something or to share, drunk or not drunk, like whatever,
yeah.
we would live in these sort of superstitions about each other, about everything. And this is like 100% needed, that people can act freely, and this is, yeah, we are gaining now our mental freedom, and I hope it will bring out a lot of art, definitely. It
Yes.
does. A lot of new understandings about where we are.
Absolutely. Tell your friend even more. You ever had sex to have fun? Yeah, but you can also love someone because of just being homosexual. And also, I come from a country where we still have this kind of stupid issue, whatever. And how about if it doesn't bother you, support it. If it doesn't, there is this thing about people going to other people and telling them what to do that makes me really uh it makes so it's about like some people just inherit a mentality through dogmas and machism, and in Italy is connected with Catholicism and everything like that, and they think that they can go around and tell other people what to do. I like the fact that I like the fact that they want to talk about it, because there are some people that don't want to talk about it, and change gets even slower, because the way that you change things is through talking about taking the taboo out of it and stuff like that. Organized crime in Italy, what do you say, um, prospered because people were not talking about it. Because no, they were talking about it in Hollywood, but people in the country, they wouldn't talk about it, so it kind of grew silently.
Also, you have to use like strong, provocative examples, because this sort of talk I could also say like it's about love, it's about generosity, or
yeah.
uh, it has been so much around like words like love. Love doesn't have like meaning anymore.
You're
What's
totally right.
overproduced? If it comes back where it actually makes some sense, now you use it, and I just feel that these conversations don't work. Everything's about the attention now, and if your argument don't have the attention,
Mhm.
there is no argument. Like people just like they hear your, oh, this comes from that. You're definitely a Jordan Peterson fan, or you're definitely that. Like
I agree. You had to use a strong word. You had to talk about sex for pleasure. You definitely got his attention. I do understand what you're saying.
other examples as well. For example, the other one was about the relationship that I use frequently, and Eva doesn't like very much. Actually, she actually criticized this stuff that this provocative approach of mine makes people to um, have a distance.
What approach exactly? What are you talking about?
For example, this about relationship that there is in France before revolution, it was considered a sort of a bad way to have sex with your wife for pleasure. It was only for having kids and so on, and it was like your wife was your mother of your kids, and it's a completely different different person, also from the love perspective.
Yeah, yeah,
The idea of this like sex for pleasure, it's like it's actually a pretty new concept in a sense.
yeah.
And before that, it was an urge. I believe like there was like there was like I believe all those brothels, everything was so filthy, so awful, all the syphilis and everything that they were having back then, but still it was going on. Like I remember I went to Pompeii, and there were all those, the room with the drawings where you couldn't speak, but you could show like what position you wanted to be performed on. And basically now the woman you're with have to be a mother, a girlfriend, a wife, and a whore at the same
In a
time.
whore. Yes,
And that's
yeah.
impossible.
It's impossible because of that division that happened before. Absolutely. You reminded me of like a lot of people that, like, for example, in Italy, they grew up with this idea of a wife, like the pre-revolution thing in France, like a that or whatever, and now they have a complex called the Madonna whore complex. I don't know if you heard of that.
No.
So the Madonna, like the Madonna,
Yeah.
so the wife that is like the representation of values, and can definitely have a blowjob or stuff like that from her, but that represents that. And then there's a whore, and these people they cannot have just one partner because of that, because they in them the desire of having in a partner some libido that it was a bit more a bit crazier wasn't seen like proper before, wasn't seen like something that you would normally do. So now they kind of have like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of stuff. That there is this old little American thing that comes from a movies or whatever, that you know I wouldn't get anything. My wife has to kiss my kids. I wouldn't ask her to do anything with her. You know what I'm saying when I say that? So it comes all from that. And now women, we don't have as many roles as women are supposed to have, right? Men, they have it way easier.
And that's what actually, this is the big point what the feminists argue about. That I believe that those roles are according to men. Those roles, as we are discussing, actually, we have this really sexist discussion in a way, because we are talking about these roles according to men. Those roles do not exist if we change the
Perspective.
yeah.
Like when I first arrived in Latvia, I was really positively surprised of the amount of women that work in your country. And I was thinking about my southern Italian reality, maybe for not big cities or things like that. And at least 1 generation ago, 2 generations ago, the women would stay in the house and take care of the kids. And I was really happy to see that, because I, somehow is a way to emancipate you, to find work is a way to find freedom. I understand. Would it be correct to say that this is allow me the term, a silver lining of Soviet society? Is it fair to say?
Are most of the men drunks? Like after they're in Italy?
A good point.
We have such a drinking problem as well. Most men are just drunks. And eventually they have spent their 20, 30 years in their career. And then what? And also, I also come from a family where women are way stronger than men, in the sense of reaching out for the potential that there is. I don't say that men are men. I know that there are alpha males and beta males and sigma males and whatever. And
what are the sigma males?
Sigma?
Sigma males, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the lone wolf.
Ah, all right, like the Steppenwolf.
Yeah. You're alone, but you kind of you're over everyone. You're over, like. But that's not the point.
But there's a good point. I totally I knew that, but I kind of forgot about it. It's a very silly kind of, yes, the price to pay for the kind of emancipation of everybody working is a good amount of male alcoholism. Yeah, so there's no.
You cannot work if you're drunk half a day.
No. Yeah.
You can work for some time, but then eventually it goes down.
No, it gets into suicide too.
I've seen alcoholism a lot, and I think that it's one of the big problems. The other one, or not the problem. Now we have a position where there are as many working women as there are men. I actually don't know if this is this. I'm just quoting you.
No, I don't know either. For me, it was just living in society and looking around and taking a look at the street and things like that. It was a perception, no stats available. Go ahead.
And yeah, I believe we don't have the wage gap in Latvia as well. There is no. So this isn't the problem that we have here. Basically, it's an asking problem. I believe that just women are afraid to ask for a bigger salary. That's everything there is. There is no like another aspect to it. That in Italy there is, I believe so.
Yes, and also there is another thing that is very interesting. That, like for example, in my country, kind of classes are somehow social classes are somehow. You can inherit them. So, social middle class, higher class, lower class. Now middle class is slowly disappearing, by the way. But at least in the past years, you could be the son of the lawyer, or you could be the son of the carpenter with some sort of social mobility, of course. But it's interesting, and it seems to be positively interesting to me, the fact that when we talk about Latvia, if I'm not mistaken, we don't talk about families that were necessarily coming from a privileged higher class. So during Soviet time, most of everybody were on the same level. So the family that you look at right now, at least they are, like in Italy, at least they're separated by the kind of social class snobism that maybe exists in my country. This could be actually a positive aspect of your society. Because I'm telling you, there is a big amount of protecting your social class in Italy because it's eradicated from decades.
But as well as I think we need the elite. We don't have one, because the one that was everyone was deported or killed, and we haven't managed to generate one like in these 30 years of Latvian independence. And in the Soviet times, it wasn't even possible. Like we have some personality, we have famous people that come from Latvia or that live in Latvia or that have reached some individual goals. But actually, I would like to see that we would have something like from Italy or from France, that there is this sort of it's like higher society. It's not only about wealth, and
No.
it's also about decisions. Sometimes I feel that some decisions that are made here are benefiting really small amount of people, and it is because those are the people who those are the opportunists who were lucky during the 90s and the 2000s, who managed to trick others. And I don't actually, I don't even care how they managed to do it. I
But they
just
did.
know that it wasn't in a way that they inherit, like their father didn't have like carpentry store and on the first floor of the building. Then the next generation bought the second floor. Basically, after 7 generations, they own a building in Milan, and they are from their great grandfather who was a carpenter. Now they are like they built this with their family, basically from bottom to top. We don't have that here because everything was like everyone had to start from the beginning, but the beginning in this case wasn't fair. Of course, fair, not in this sort of just basically not everyone wanted to be this opportunist type person. And some just wanted to live in the independent country and just enjoy the benefits or just hope for the best. I don't know, just some. And now we have this clash. We have the clash between. I would call it the young. That's even what's called young money. That's young money. We don't have old money at all in Latvia. That's mostly everything is young money, and maybe some people who have made their businesses. Okay, there are some like business people, like serious business people.
I
Oh, but I
understand.
forgot the question.
Well, no, it's fine. I do understand your point. You're saying that young money lacks or it doesn't have that kind of decisionism of good decisions or whatever. It's just the greedy.
For the future, yes, for the future.
Yeah. Is that it doesn't invest for the future, it invests for now and everything. Like the 1990s kind of imprenditorial frenzy.
Like the classic approach is to make a construction company, get the first big deal, then go bankrupt, and use the money to buy a new BMW. That's the approach. And if you're not doing that, then you're a fucking loser.
The will of emancipating yourself and get out of a poor situation pretty much makes you a bit of a Scarface character or whatever, even less. No, I understand. With young money, yeah, or yeah, and sometimes the politicians are a representation of that with maybe with a suit. Not all of them, of course. For example, I don't know. Like I like a lot of sixth sense with politics and politicians with a very limited information, which makes me a bit stupid with that. But I like to kind of collect sixth sense towards of the way that they speak and they talk. And I have to say, maybe I'm wrong, but I like your president. I like the style of the communication that he has, even if a lot of people are complaining. I know Mr. Levitt, because also I'm a bit fed up with the cult of personalism that comes from the Italian leaders that fucked up plenty of times. So when I see somebody that is low profile and he communicates professionalism, even if he's not grandiose, he's not making the right jokes and he's not, I like that. and same for Karinch, with a great dose of ignorance towards what they're actually doing that is right or what is not doing. But I like the language, I like the style a lot, and yeah.
I think most of the politicians from the what do you call left, it's left bloc, like
I guess center left, yeah, whatever. Yeah,
yeah, we are been mostly center left government for many. I would consider it with some right wing participation always, like
yeah,
nationalists and so on.
yeah,
The biggest mistake that they are criticized is that they want to please the European Union so much. Like I've been to Italy, like I'm actually spending like
yeah,
the same amount basically as in Latvia. I've been to France. I know that they don't do that. They are trying to make it appear as it is. Like we are doing the things that we need for
yeah.
our country, and then we're thinking about your regulations, your whatsoever. In Latvia, somehow we want to please them too much. Just no one will shake your hand, or no one will say thank you at the end of the day for just sacrificing because they don't know outside of, they don't know what's the problem here. And if you're just pleasing so much, you look like a, what do you call it? Like people don't like uh, sort of
Turning the other
this.
cheek. You're turning the other
Yes,
cheek.
but for some other like foreign government, even some people compare it to Soviet Union, like whatsoever, like Soviet Union, European Union. Of course, it's a stupid argument, but it comes from a place where I know where it comes from.
Yeah.
It comes from the idea that you're detached. You feel that your government is detached from your needs.
Yes. But also there is a something that I guess that Europe is not accustomed to conceive is the fact that Europe is like a body, it's like a geography. It has legs, it's got a head, it's got arms and things like that. And like for example, in south of Italy, in Sicily, we know we are the barrier with North Africa, and we see pretty much all the consequences of people coming from North Africa, which um, results in a war between poor people. So pretty much there are poor Sicilian, poor Libyan, they come over, the politics is distant. We have these parties like Salvini, like Le Pen or Salvini in Italy that tells us that they don't deserve to come over, but they don't know that we are them. We are them 20, well, since the like there is no blood from outside Europe that is not in our blood, pretty much. I could be Algerian, I could be more, I am whatever. So that mentality doesn't work anymore. But what works is the fact that south of Italy is full of poor people. So poor people, they're not able to. We have a weak stomach. The poorer you are, that kind of bullshit about xenophobia kind of works better. It doesn't matter if you're Spanish. It doesn't matter, in my opinion, it doesn't matter where you come from. But Europe forgets that Latvia is the border of Europe in all senses with Russia and stuff like that. They don't understand the way that this thing has to be treated somehow. They
We're
don't
like
understand.
we're Sicily of Europe
Yeah, you are
in a
somehow, but
sense.
with the bigger, but you have a bigger bully on their side. We have organized crime that is sending people that are desperate and they're supposed to be in Europe because this is us going away to United States 100 years ago. So the mentality is the same, but we don't have in the border the the volume of the personality that this man has of what he's doing. So they should at least have more and more attention, or as much as the one that they give to Sicily, hopefully more, because at the moment the Mediterranean Sea between Sicily And North Africa is a mess. It's a mess between NGOs, it's a mess between organized crime, it's a mess between poor people not having the money to show solidarity. There is racism, as it happens when there is no money or there are stupid people around. And so Europe is all this big reality that you're back. So it feels that maybe this, hopefully the situation in Ukraine is shaking Europe in a way that it gives it this kind of defibrillator, kind of, Jesus Christ, wake up a bit, because I am myself a proof that you can fall asleep in ideas and in countries anyway. We were already being lobotomized by lack of telling us both sides of history. Imagine, we talked about today with the Spanish guy. I promise you, you don't have to be as dumb as that Spanish guy to still be embarrassing. You can still be embarrassing. You can still get to know about Gulag when you are, probably not anymore nowadays, when you're 20 years old. And you spend all the 20 years looking at, as it's supposed to be, documentaries about Holocaust or things like that. So Europe is, at least my generation, has a lot of vacuum with that. So, you know, I'm not surprised. I understand the frustration, Ernest. I do, you know. But
and I'm also like about this. There's another. How much time do we have?
well, it doesn't matter, as much as you want.
This is also an interesting topic about Italian history. Like I went to see this next to Lake Garda. I believe there's this palace where Gabriele D'Annunzio lived.
Yeah. Vittoriale.
And
Yes.
Vittoriale. And I was so impressed by his personality.
It's crazy, man.
And actually, the next day, there was a film out in theaters. So I went to see a film in Milan about him. And he had this quote. Actually, if you know like a well translated book in English of his or something like what he's done, I would like to read something.
Please.
And because I'm really interested in his personality, because he had this quote that when good ideas are written down, they become stupid and silly, or they become something like something like that. Yeah. And there's this like story about, it was also in the film, how he's the one who invented fascism, basically. Not like invented in the sense that the whole humanity
like
knows it today.
Like futurism, like everything that was around.
He gave like a futuristic idea for Italians that you are sort of you have inherited sort of this ancient Roman. You are the predecessors of the Romans, and so on. I love it. I think it's a great idea. But then when it came to reality, and when Mussolini took it up and they managed to bring this he wasn't an anti-Semite, by the way. And that's where, like, if you go back to every history of every ideology, there will be a man somewhere there who was a genius, who was like really thinking forward, thinking for the future, and then others take it up and use it and just destroy it.
Like Marx as well, probably.
Yes. Like Marx is coming back in the. I believe the Capital is pretty much well read in like in audiobooks or listened to right now, because the ideas they are taken out of context.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Italians. And that's why Italians love it. That's why there is this, or not just Italians, like that's why West fell in love with communism. because of that, because of all the grandeur of everything, which pretty great, interesting ideas about the world that it was. My goodness, was anyway. Okay, so yes, absolutely, it makes sense. Sorry, I interrupted you. The moment you can see it in history, right? The moment that other people get these ideas that are revolutionary or whatever, or they're interested, or they're good ideas, they put them into reality and they become a tragedy. Or yeah, but that's why I like Levitt, because it's calm. I like it because I'm telling you, I come from a country. I know I'm probably moving to another subject. I come in from a country where the cult of personalism in politics has pretty much allowed all sort of bullshit, and that being a ruffian is actually something cool, and that it makes sense, and that is almost like Latvia in the 90s, like that kind of idea that Ernest is smart, is a son of a bitch. I like him. That kind of idea. So Berlusconi is the archetypal idea of that, to a point where he tells his voters not to pay taxes. Imagine the contradiction. The prime minister telling his electorate not to pay taxes. So we reached this point. Luckily, we don't have him in power anymore. But please, you were saying about, I'm sorry, I'm getting into tangents.
And this is like one aspect what I kind of has this little resistance in me against demolishing symbols and going against ideologies, that
Mm.
I'm not going against the person who had the thought. I'm not hating on, I don't know, D'Annunzio or Marx
Mhm.
or whatever, but those the executors.
Yeah.
That's and it even kind of it's so sad in the sense it's the same about the nuclear weapons and everything. Geniuses create these great ideas that would come across in any possible way, and they
Way.
come across always in this sort of destructive, anti-Semite, racist, whatever ways. And this is not them. This is us. This is not us as me and you, but this is everyone in our society
Yes.
thinking about it and having this thought that,
Yeah.
yes, kill the Jews, like
Yeah.
that's,
Yes.
and then I am born, like 50, 40 years later, I'm born, and I have to live in this world where some people fucked up, other people said to them that these symbols, this rhetoric, everything that you did is wrong, and I have to build, like, imagine after 1,000 years, if this planet still is existing, there will be like no topics to talk about at all. Like everything will have this sort of
Yeah.
uh, low, like a
Like a
like a
censorship.
sign, like when you go into a toilet and there's the sign that please don't put the toilet paper in the toilet,
In
or
the toilet
please
seat.
wash it. Yeah, please use the soap or whatever.
Yeah.
This would be like on every top of our heads. There will be like, this guy thinks this. Basically, you can just ask him his name and surname. That's it.
If only the guy at the beginning of our conversation, that the Spanish guy that you met, that was a bit interesting. If only had said, "What about a communism without the Gulag? What about that? Without associating himself to the Russian anthem or
Yeah,
things like that."
that
What
wasn't the
was?
discussion.
Yeah. No, it would have been.
He could.
Yeah. It probably. You know what? Sometimes, like for example, when I was I was 17 or 18. I remember I was a bit outside the group, a bit of an outcast, and a friend of mine was belonged to a neo-Nazi group. I remember in Italy, like, and for me, I remember my historical ideas about history were a bit fragmented, and it was easy to believe that I wasn't pro Mussolini or things like that. But for me, it was a group to belong for a couple of years, because I was taught I was an outcast in the other groups. So that group had accepted me. It lasted 2 years. I said, no, this is too much. Okay, but those 2 years that he lasted, it tells me how easy it is to be bought into a group without when you are pushed away from society. So we need the tribe, and we need to there is tribalism in us, and we need to belong, or things like that. And sometimes some people have experienced a good amount of being left out of society, or finding a reason to be cool, where actually they access groups where at the end of the day, how much do they believe in it? But it gives them a strength, it gives them an identity. I believe also some supporters of Putin, I believe that there is an ingredient of time and generation and history, but pretty much, how do you explain yourself? Somebody that doesn't have the money to take the bus in the morning, or to access commodities like we do normally every day, and at the same time, so it doesn't have the money to do shit, but at the same time is supporting someone that is so crazy. Actually, it makes a lot of sense, because it's almost like, okay, the West is telling you that you're a loser because you only have money for vodka. Okay, the West is telling you that. So how cool would it be to have a big bully on my side over here that is telling the West that I am actually strong? I know it sounds like a silly way of reasoning, but when you the more you take away from people in generations, the more they will tend to embrace the villain in that sense, because they need kind of confirmation of their personality. So I'm not saying that all Russians are like that, and I don't believe that. And I know that there are a lot of people that are opposing themselves at high cost to what's going on. But it makes sense that the shittier your life is, the more difficult it is to rationalize something that for us is very easy or easier, like Putin. Because somehow he is a big friend of yours that is telling the rest of the people, the rest of the world, that you're not a loser. Look at the tanks that we have. Look at this, look at that, look at the statues, look at that. And at the end of the day, we don't have money to pay for education or things like that. But
Okay, I will. All the time that you were talking, I was thinking about what what's something new. What can I bring? Something, maybe I can bring something new. So though I will try to not touch the topics that we have already. I believe you and me that we know very very well. I will try to do something random.
please.
So the first thing is that I believe that Russian propaganda works in a way that they try to convince people that you don't have to do anything. Like, to be a real patriot, just go to do your work, turn on the TV, listen to what we say to you. You don't have to do anything. And that's a really good approach, because they are not supporter. A supporter is someone who, in my like, if you're a supporter of a football team, it means that you have to go to see the games. You have to, I know you would probably wear a jersey, you will watch the film, watch the games on the TV. Putin supporters don't do that. They basically, their propaganda allows them to do bare minimum. And this is how they manage to reach a bigger amount of people. Imagine religion where you don't have to do anything. And religion is still like, I have to go to the church, or don't have to know they don't even know, like, if I have seen many of those like TikTok videos where they call each other and they discuss, like, can you like sing an anthem? Like, can you even sing a Russian anthem? Like, I don't even know words of the Russian anthem. Like, people who don't know shit about their country are in support of their leader. It means that propaganda works in this way. That's what I'm like now. This is my belief now. I think this is how it works. Then again, the latest thing and this is also controversial, but whatever. Putin is an old man.
Putin?
He's an old man.
Yeah.
He's old. And we can witness what happens when there's an old man with a lot of power, who is so afraid of this new world that is coming for everyone.
Yeah, the internet is afraid of everything. Knowledge.
There are young men, as we, me and you, we see it as opportunity. We see, oh, the new world is coming, something's changing, and we'll see, like, let's go. He sees it as a threat, and he believes that he's like a savior for everyone there. And but when I take this idea, I know that I know many old people with the same thoughts, but they don't have the power. Thank God.
Yeah. Like your grandfather trying to protect you, and
It's not that there isn't a conspiracy behind it. It's just
but it is.
there hasn't been enough insane old people with crazy amounts of power in history.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
someone who is, and if you look up upon his biography, he wasn't wanted by his public. He was like what do you call when he was
Orphan
born as not an orphan, but like his father had another family.
relation,
Basically, he had an affair or something, and
like
basically,
estranged. He was estranged. Yes.
yeah, and he was estranged for his whole childhood. When he was in the KGB, I believe, when he started his career, he was this sort of they had a nickname for him. They call him
Famoso.
Benchik. Benchik
What does it mean? Does it mean
is
anything?
the thing that is left from the cigarette when you smoke it.
Cigarette butt. Nice.
Yeah, that was his nickname.
I wonder
And if
why. Was
you
it picking up from the floor? No.
and I have been in this sort of you hear me?
Yeah.
I have been in like I have played basketball. I've been in this sort of men environment, like I believe like sports groups or whatever. And I know what it means. It means that you are the guy who is like bullied on, and
Yeah.
you're bullied not because you're a cool guy and so on. It's because you have these insecurities in yourself, and these kind of environments, like men, testosterone environments, don't tolerate that. And if you cannot take a joke, and if you cannot take it combines, and then you get your nickname, cigarette butt.
Man, and that
And
yeah.
this is a combination. Like this is why we need to stop bullying, because we will get more old people with power that are completely scared of the world and what's coming.
Also, like if you look at history and you look at outcasts that were bullied or mistreated from their family or bullied, even so, whatever, there is a great strain of serial killers over there. I'm not saying, but every time, most of the time, they look at the serial killer life. There is
One
a
sec.
non,
Okay.
there is non acceptance and bullyism, which in certain dose, not being accepted can be part of life or healthy somehow, but there are crazy situation where there were people were marginalized entirely and they ended up but they pretty much grew up with a complex and of showing you can tell. I mean, when you look at him you can tell that he's very eager to show manhood, and you're totally right. And I like when you said that thank God no all the old men actually in charge of a country. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was younger, there was this stereotype in Italy, or this way of behaving, which maybe makes sense. I don't know, but it's still like if he's an older man, you have to respect them. You have to respect. It doesn't matter what they say. You have to respect them. You have to show that you ready to learn or things like that. I met so many assholes in my life. They had the beard, not like me, the white beard, and they were super old. I met so many that totally made me understand that the age is very relative in life. It's extremely relative. So you can have somebody that is 15 or 16 years old that you wish it was you now that you're 36. Now I met some people that like they were 17 or 18, and the way that they embrace a conversation, or the way that they behave sounds extreme. Age is not is relative, and actually it can be worse when there is a complex that you carry with yourself all your life, like Putin or whatever. It can be even worse age, because maybe you become even more radicated in those crazy, those traumas or things like that. Like there's this two old Italian men that have a fight about politics in the square. You sit down and you try to make some sense when you listen to them.
I don't remember where I read this, or but it's about the Roman times. They were going to these public baths.
Yeah.
And so the old men that were sitting, with their beards or whatever, they were kind of they have gained the power, they have gained the wealth, and they're like just enjoying themselves and talking or whatever. And when the young men came in to these baths, they were making fun of the old men. They were saying like, "Oh, you're so fat, you're so ugly, like look at us, like we're so good looking and so
I
fit.
didn't know that.
We're
It's great.
getting all the girls." And basically, what they could say, yeah, okay, you're right, but you don't have and basically you don't have the experience, and so on and so on. And eventually, we have come to this point where we are living not in a man society, but an old man society. Like, what is considered a good position when you have like possessions, like apartment or a house or a car or a yacht? That's an old man thinking. That's something that you do when you're old. You don't have it. For young men, like possessions is I don't know, being out, like being active, being in some sort of like spending money, not saving, like spending money for yourself or your
Yeah.
family, whatever. And this is, it should be brought back. This sort of, it's not about respect. Of course, you have to respect people who are more experienced than you. But I like this idea that we should bring back those days where young can make jokes about the old and old can make jokes about the young. And it's also about what I said about the French. We gain the mutual respect, and that's how the old, when they go insane, someone can say, "Hey man, like
You're full
you're
of shit.
insane."
Yeah.
But when you're in this sort of, when the all uh, sort of political elite or government or everyone is combined with old men, who do they talk to? They talk to like they see the similar men as them. They consider their kids or their grandkids as idiots, or that they don't understand things as they understand them. But at the end of the day, they are just too scared to look on themselves in this way.
There was something interesting with on that note. Well, now we get into a rabbit hole, but there was like this thing that I read, like for example, Freemasonry. Like
Yeah, I know. I actually have read that book, the Under Scorpion Sign. Or
so like also like you're an architect. You got plenty of stuff in Riga with that, and but the actual, even if I never seen it in life like happening, I don't belong to a lodge. I had never been, always been interested in it. We're full of Masons in Italy, and I presume in Latvia you got some. But there is this thing about when you get into a temple, you get into a lodge, where the age is totally relative. So if you join the lodge and you are 90 years old, and you 1 year old. But if you're 15 and you joined when you were, no, you're 35 and you joined when you were 20, you are 15 years old. And now, regardless, Freemasonry has been interesting in the world, I think, because he opposed the Catholic Church, which I think is always good to oppose the Catholic Church. So, but in that sense, it shows actually how knowledge works and how humble it is, and the fact that we can actually learn from people despite the age or things like that, is I don't know if these things work like that in a temple of Freemasons, but it's interesting. It's supposed to be like that, and there's supposed to be also comedy. We're supposed to take, in my opinion, to be inspired by the Americans more and more in their comedy, and the fact that nowadays they, in a stand-up comedy, they discuss topics that in Europe they were too slow. We don't have the our territory is not fertile enough to discuss the things that they discuss with comedy in America, in my opinion. Like the fact that they can take some words that are very controversial, and they can put them in a piece. And in Europe, it seems that the way that we treat those topics is pretty slow. And
it also depends on the audience. Like
yeah,
I believe, which was the one who had this masturbation scandal, Louis C.K. Like
yeah,
he came back to comedy, gained back his audience. Like his audience loves him for what he presents.
yeah.
And I think if and on the other hand, if we would have such influential comedians here that are not like only entertaining, but they are kind of approaching this sort of their listener, their audience, then you feel comfortable to discuss it. Like I have been to some comedy shows in Latvia where comedians are trying to do it,
Mhm.
but I feel that they haven't got their audience yet to do it. And so it kind of feels that is it like it doesn't go through, and so no one wants to hear it. It's just where's the jokes? Like it's not
Well,
funny.
I understand what you're saying. Yes, and I'm not accusing the stand-up comedian. I'm accusing us, like European, more or less, all of us. But this shows you, though, that America is a very young country, but a lot of social
Mm.
experiments happening there. And think about music. Think about like, is it pretty much a workshop for ideas and things like that? I think in Europe, the greatest comedy is the British
Yeah,
comedy. But
yeah,
the thing is, in Europe, it seems though that yes, there is always a niche and experimentalism with comedy and things like that. But the moment that somebody like Louis C.K., apart from the masturbation, which is part of it, apart from the accident, can bring all those topics and fill arenas with it, it says one thing. It says that the way that they explore the world through comedy is larger than ours, because maybe ours, at least the Italian one, um, you will never feel you will never feel a an arena discussing about a funny priest that likes to go around and sodomize boys. In Italy, you will never do that. You can do it, not never, up to now. You can do it in a nightclub with 5 people. You can do it in that. It becomes niche. But in America, it happened already a while ago. So I think that, and even now with podcasting and everything, like think about Joe Rogan, the fact that they can discuss things over there without worrying as much as we do or things like that. So I think that Europe is for example, I wouldn't want to live in America because I love Europe. I love the way that it looks. I love I like the architecture very much and things like that. And I like the society too. But I think it's time to slowly, like, just get less taboo, to start talking about things and exploring things a bit more, and without.
yeah. There is like no one will judge. Like of course, no. Okay, someone will judge you, but
uh,
fuck them.
yeah, fuck
uh,
them. Who cares?
at the end of the day, when you will speak out your truth, you will feel better.
Yeah,
Don't worry, like it's not America. You will not get canceled for that. And of
yeah,
course, who are you to get canceled? You're nobody. Like I'm nobody. You're nobody. But
yeah.
we are just living. We're not public figures. And
And
so
also, most of all, we are not our ideas. We should just stop considering that people and ideas are the same thing. So we should start taking a bit of distance out of that, because we're not. Otherwise, we're gonna kill ourselves. I think we're just gonna. My friend,
I think this is a great end. I think this is a great ender.
No, you need to end this, not me.
I really think that if someone will listen till the end of this podcast, I hope so. That this is the time to speak up, speak your mind, because no one will judge you, and those who will judge you, they are just not there yet. They are somewhere in this neutral stage, finding themselves, and more people will speak out. More people will convert to this feeling that everything can be discussed, and I think I wanted to end it with this because
totally
this is
right.
something I'm so obsessed about right now, and I think it's important.